Good evening, everyone. You know what day it is. You know what time. It's time for Hard Talks with a Blonde and a Hippie. Ring, ring. I'm your trippy hippie, Alicia, jumping on the mic from good old Utah. Here with my co-host,
your favorite blonde. Trying something new today.
Sarah.
Sarah, forgot my name.
And we're joined this evening by the respected Captain Clement, who's served how many years in the Air Force now?
Just under 9 years now.
That's
Damn.
awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for coming all the way down to Ogden. We really appreciate it. I've learned a lot from you in the last 6 months, so...
Likewise.
Yeah, it was cool. We originally talked about... Or I originally brought it up to him and another coworker for popping on the show because they kept making this running joke about the Mormon Mafia bros. And I was like, oh, that'd be a good conversation starter. Let's have you on. And he was not for it, the other guy. So, cheers to you.
Cheers.
Let's throw in our disclaimer really quick.
We all know.
It's an 18 and up podcast. We curse like sailors. Sarah is a saint no more. Sorry, Mom. We don't want to be responsible for your children cursing. And we talk everything controversial, difficult, or taboo. So think life and all aspects of that, whatever that may be. Yeah. I, tonight, am taking it easy with the drinking. Not drinking tonight.
What?
Sorry. I don't know. I was thinking about, like, having a coffee with a little shot of rum chata in there.
Ugh, rum chata.
That's good stuff. It's
No,
like
it makes me sick.
no, it's like horchata, the
Yeah, I know
Mexican
what rum chata
drink.
is.
Okay, well, it's
'Cause
delicious.
I had alcohol poisoning from it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so never again am I drinking that
No,
snuff.
but I've just had a lot going on this week, and running by the edge of my seat, pretty much. So we're still Hard Talks. Get your drinks ready.
She just won't be
and
plastered
enjoy.
by the end.
Nope.
It's fine.
All that being said, we're going to hear a little bit about Captain Clement's life and his experience throughout the Air Force and the jokes he likes to play on people because he's a comical guy. I can't tell you how many scam calls I've listened in on at work because he likes to scam the scam callers.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
I like
Wow.
that.
And we're also going to talk about like what brought you to Utah and all that, how you met your beautiful wife, etc. And congratulations on bringing your baby into the world.
Oh, thank you.
When was he born again?
He was born late December.
Late December.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
you-
he's just under 4 months old now.
Were you in Utah when you had him?
I was,
Yeah.
yes.
At least it wasn't a bad winter this year.
That's
She
true.
weren't coming home with like a newborn in like a blizzard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's all agreeing with me. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. When I was in labor with my first child, my mom had to bring me to the hospital through a blizzard. And my insurance, of course, only covered a couple of hospitals. So we chose one down there for unknown reason, honestly.
I mean-
I don't know. It was not a fun experience. I thought I was going to give birth in the back of her car.
My grandma did
No.
in a blizzard on December 26th.
Your grandma gave birth in a car?
Literally, they made it to the hospital. They drove up to the hospital to get her into it, and she had him.
That is strength.
Power to her.
So it's kind of funny because I was like, oh, out of your 6 kids, Grandpa was there for one of them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because you couldn't be in the room. So super weird. Like, they didn't know what it was. They'd, like, over the intercom, like, Erlen Bell, you have a boy. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I would die. How to do that alone.
I'm just grateful I didn't have children. How was your experience going through the hospital during COVID? Were you allowed to be in the delivery room? And
I
everything?
was, yeah. So I think that they had already implemented a lot of COVID-like procedures way prior to us actually being seen for my child. But I was able to go in there, but we weren't allowed to have any other visitors there whatsoever. So it's just me and my wife, which I actually kind of liked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we had our own little room. We didn't have to worry about a whole bunch of people trying to come in when my wife is just trying to recover from just giving
She's just
birth.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you want to, like, rest, and, like, you don't, because you don't want people, like, coming in, you're like, please, just...
I don't
Let
look
us-
my best right now.
Yeah.
I'm half naked.
You're like, I just gave birth.
Right.
Leave me alone.
And there's nothing worse than having a bunch of people in the room while you're in active labor. Well, not pushing, but, in labor. That was hard for me. But anyway, all that being said, Where are you originally from, Captain?
So, I like to tell everyone that I'm American by the grace of God and Texan by choice. I was originally born in Fayetteville, North Carolina. My dad was Army enlisted, and he was stationed at Fort Bragg at the time I was born, so I was born around that area.
Way cool.
But then I moved out to Texas, and that's where I went to college, and then I commissioned into the Air Force from there, and from there I went on.
Nice.
Went to Alaska after that, and then Hill, and here I am now.
How long have you been at Hill in Utah?
So I've been at Hill since about 2017.
Oh, so a while.
So
cool.
yeah, I've been here for a minute, but time here is coming to an end pretty soon. So I'll be heading out doing something different in a few months.
Are you excited, nervous?
I am excited. I personally, I've liked Utah. I've enjoyed it here, but I think that my time here has been well spent, and I'm ready to move on and do something different with my life. I actually enjoy moving on or moving to someplace new.
This is like perfect for you.
Absolutely. Cool.
Is your wife excited?
She is and she isn't. Like, I think she's made some good friends here, and I think that, she and both I will miss those friendships.
Absolutely.
But I think that there are some positives and some benefits to it that she enjoys as well. I think that she also enjoys moving and doing something different, going someplace new, seeing new things.
Always meeting new people. Like, and see, like, once you have friends here, like, they're just your friends. Like, you always have that inner
network.
Like that network. You you can always reach out to someone. It's never like we're a phone call away.
Oh, absolutely.
Facebook friend request away. I don't know, Instagram. Like now it's nice because like before, like send a letter by pigeon.
By pigeon.
I mean, I don't know. I probably would. I'm gonna send you a letter by pigeon one day.
I actually have
I can figure it out.
I have a pen pal. It's my 8-year-old son in Wyoming, so that's awesome. He likes to write letters.
That's cute.
Yeah, it is cute. It's fun. That. I haven't written a letter in forever. But anyway, when you were enlisting, I'm sure you've gotten this question a lot, or maybe not, but was your goal to become a pilot or what you're doing in your current field? Because when people hear that you're in the Air Force, I feel like they immediately think, oh, pilot,
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question. I'm glad you bring that up because I got to clear the air here. So very common misconception. Not everyone in the Air Force is a pilot.
What?
Not everyone in the Air Force wants to be a pilot. I was not one of those people that wanted to be a pilot. I actually wanted to be a dentist originally. That's what I wanted to come in and do for Uncle Sam.
Nice.
But that didn't pan out for me. So now I'm doing aircraft maintenance and munitions instead. But yeah.
Oh.
I will say that the Air Force does have more pilots than the other branches. However, pilots probably make up 10 to 15% of the total Air Force manpower, so they're really just a small percentage of what we actually do.
To become a pilot, it's a pretty long and extensive.
It is, and it's expensive too. I've heard figures, I don't know exact numbers, but I've heard it can cost upwards of $1 million to train a single pilot to get them the initial training that they need.
Not like that. You have to be like basically like perfect health.
You have to be in really good health. That is true, and you have to have good eyesight, or at least eyesight that is correctable to a certain level.
I remember my dad wanted to be a pilot, and oh my god, between him and my mom, I'm just doomsday of like being blinded forever, right? So he couldn't go in because of, but I don't think that like he had LASIK. I think by the time he wanted to go in, but like he just was still in that like it was not enough.
Sure, and you can be too short to be a pilot. You can actually be too tall to be a pilot, depending on what
heavy.
airplane.
Yeah,
so weird.
Yep.
Have you ever seen Little Miss Sunshine?
No.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of that because I think I even told you about it at work because this kid takes a vow of silence for like 2 years and he's in high school, right? In our OTC, just wants to go into the Air Force to become a pilot. That's his dream. Takes a vow of silence. And then on this trek across the country, he realizes that he's colorblind.
No.
And he just starts freaking out in the backseat of this hippie van. Runs out into the middle of the corn maze when they pull over and is just like, fuck. And it's like so funny, but so sad at the same time.
It's like heartbreaking.
It really is. But I don't know.
That's funny. I'll have to.
I wanted to ask because I feel like a lot of our listeners probably don't know because I didn't know this. But what is the biggest misconception or difference in enlisting and like being commissioned?
Yeah, sure. So, You have 2 basic tiers in the military. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess 3 if you count warrant officers, depending on the branch you're talking about. But in the Air Force specifically, you have your enlisted force, and then you have your officer force.
Okay.
So your enlisted force, they will actually enlist into the military, whereas with your officers, they will commission. They take a slightly different oath whenever they do join the Air Force. Mm-hmm. But the training is also different as well. So standard enlistees will go straight to basic training, and they'll come in at kind of like the lowest echelon, or the lowest, rank in the military, and then they'll work their way up. But they can only work their way up to E9, which E stands for enlisted. 9 is the highest level in the enlisted corps. Whereas with commissioned officers, it's slightly different. So a couple of different routes you can go through. You can do the Reserve Officer Training Corps, ROTC as it's called. You can do the academy. You have a bunch of different military academies. The Air Force has USAFA, United States Air Force Academy. Then you have OTS, OCS, so on and so forth. They will commission into their branch of service, and then they will start as an O1, O designating officer. Okay. And then depending on the branch you're talking about, for the Air Force, it's a second lieutenant, and then they can promote all the way up to a 4-star general, although that is really, really difficult to do.
Yeah, I was going to say.
An enlisted person, unless they commission, can never become an officer. They can't hold the rank of general officer.
So there's not as much room for,
there's still some room, right? It's just they still fall in that enlisted, echelon.
So basically, like, do what works for you. Like, if you want to become like higher ranked, I don't know. I don't know. See,
no, but is it easier? Like, what would you recommend? Were you enlisted or you commissioned?
I was not enlisted. So my dad was enlisted Army. In fact, there's a fun saying out there that enlisted Army parents make the best Air Force recruiters. So
that makes sense.
I came close to enlisting in the Navy at one point in time in my life when I wanted to get out from home and just do something else, be independent, be my own man.
Yeah.
And I came really darn close to signing the paperwork. Like, I took the tests that you have to take at the recruiting office, this, that, and the other. And then I talked to my dad right before I signed anything, and I said, "Hey, Pops, this is what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts?" And he actually introduced me to one of his friends who was an A-10 pilot, 06 bird colonel.
Awesome.
Yep, Colonel Buck. He told me all these really cool stories about his time back in WW-NOM, flying the A-10, coming down at a 90-degree angle straight towards the ground.
Dang.
And he drove this really nice hot rod, and I was like, that's the life for me. That's what I want. So that's how I ended up here in the Air Force.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, here I am.
I always enjoy those stories of like why people chose the branch that they did. My dad's good buddy, who I've known since I was a kid, he lived in a place where all these recruiting offices were kind of in consecutive order in like a shopping mall strip like area. And he was determined to enlist in something, and he went down and initially thought, I'm going to join the Navy. And he walked in and he's like, I'm not going to wear that uniform. And then he walked down to the Army. He walked down to the Army, and like they're just getting screamed at. He walks to the next one. It's Marines. They're doing mad push-ups. Walks to the Air Force, and there's 2 cute girls in there drinking a Coke with the recruiter, and he's like,
"Sure,
yep, this is the branch for me."
Yeah.
But everyone's reason is different. And what was your biggest reason for wanting to join? Was it because that you were in a military family? Or?
So that was a part of it. I think growing up, I sort of always saw myself serving my country. I had a father in every, major campaign or major war since the Revolutionary War.
Wow. Wow.
My church, is really big into genealogy and stuff like that. So that's a part of it. But honestly, the biggest reason was just money for school. I was in college at the time. College is expensive. I was working 2 to 3 part-time jobs, trying to pay my way through school because I didn't have a whole lot of scholarships or grants or anything like that, and it's tough.
Applause for you.
Seriously.
That's rough.
Yeah. No,
Is that the applause button?
Yeah, I did
the right one?
Last week it was a fail. I was like, I commend you all single mothers, and I pushed a wah, wah, wah button.
And I was like,
nice.
But you could like color code them and like write them down. I'm sorry, we're interrupting.
No, you're perfectly fine. So that's why I joined. Like they, helped pay for school, and my initial plan was probably do my 4 years or so and then get out and do something different.
Be a dentist.
Yeah, be a dentist. My undergrad's in biological chemistry. I had 3 dental school interviews, but I wasn't accepted by any. And
it's really competitive, isn't it?
It's extremely competitive. Yeah. Some argue that it's more competitive to get into dental school than it is medical school because there are fewer slots, there are fewer schools.
Makes sense.
And you can make a commensurate level of pay, but not have nearly as much red tape. Like in the hospital field, there's so many do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
And you're working crazy hours, whereas a dentist, you can more or less set your own hours and still make really good money and be your own boss.
Absolutely.
So
there's so many dentist office in the state of Utah.
Oh, sure.
Truly. It's 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 like you can guarantee like within a 2-block radius there will be an LDS church and a dentist's office. And it's like Yep. In Minnesota, like you have to trek to, but you do
uphill, both ways.
The biggest religions in Minnesota are Lutheran and Jehovah's Witness. So yeah, definitely. Anyway, sorry, tangenting. That's what I'm good at.
Tell me about it.
What do you think that your favorite places that you've been stationed at?
So as far as station goes, so I've been stationed at Dyess Air Force Base, Eielson so Dyess is in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Eielson Air Force Base, which is basically in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. When I was up there, I legit lived in North Pole, Alaska. I kid you not.
Beautiful.
Yeah. When my friends and family would send me packages, they'd be like, "Are you being serious?" Yep. North Pole, Alaska. I lived 3 blocks away from Santa's house.
That's amazing.
I kid you not.
That's
and
killer.
He legit had 8 reindeer.
Oh my gosh.
It was a very big tourist attraction. I personally think it was overrated, but of course I lived there for a few years and I visited. So
of course you had to.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then from there I came here. So as far as, where I think out of all the places I've been stationed, I think was the coolest, I'd have to say Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like
the
mountain
wilderness up
absolutely.
there. Oh my gosh.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
I bet you saw a lot of wildlife.
I did. You'd see bison, you'd see moose, you'd see bears, you'd see, all these things. Matter of fact, I got pulled over one time by a cop because I was speeding accidentally. I wasn't
accidentally.
I wasn't paying attention to my speedometer, and I get pulled over, and I'm driving through a school zone, and the cop's like, "What's going on?" I said, "Look, I know I was probably speeding, and I apologize, but I kid you not, to my right there was a bald eagle that was fighting 3 ravens for what looked like a snake.
Most majestic thing I've ever seen.
It was pretty cool. So like he legit, stood outside my car and we watched the eagle fight these ravens over this snake or whatever it was.
Oh my god!
For like a solid 2 minutes and let me go completely scotch free.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You know what? Have a good day, sir. Go on your way.
Basically how it went.
He'd be wrong if he didn't let you go.
But it's so cool because we were up in Whitney Reservoir, so like Uinta area, so like up north Utah. And there was a bald eagle that literally we were sitting there fishing, swooped down and grabs a freaking fish. I'm like, babe!
Oh my god.
It's cool because you don't see bald eagles very often here.
Oh, that's true.
Like, so
majestic.
It was like, grabbed a freaking fish out of the lake. So, have you ever seen that before?
I can't say that I have.
See?
Congratulations.
It's cool. Thank you.
So, have you ever been stationed, and if you can't answer, that's okay. I can cut it out. But have you ever been stationed in another country?
I have. So I've been outside of the United States. I've been to Afghanistan. I've been to Israel. I've been to Germany. I've been to a couple of different places. I loved going to Israel. Israel was amazing, especially if you're a religious person, regardless of if it's Islam or Hebrew or Christian. Like there are a lot of religious sites for all of those different religions, and it's just really cool to go.
What would you say you took away culturally by visiting those other countries?
It's crazy. I look at the United States today, and I see, all of the hardships that people have. And, there's a lot of disagreement, but legit, my first day in Israel, I'm there. I check into my hotel and there was a rocket that was fired out of the Gaza Strip.
Oh my God.
And it landed, 3 blocks away from my hotel. And, here in the States, I'm at home, I'm chilling. I don't have to worry about a rocket, flying over my head or destroying anyone. Like they're legit living in a war zone. And people die. but they have an extremely diverse group. They have a really, heavy, Hebrew population and Islamic population, or Jewish population and Islamic population. They don't necessarily get along. Right. They're age-old, 100-century-year-old feuds over land and all, this, that, and the other. And there were people on the streets that were legit arguing, like yelling, and it was just a normal thing down there. It was crazy. Yeah. So culturally, like, it's just crazy to think that, there they are living, in their country, and they have this active war going on, whereas here we are, back in the States, and it's just the culture shock is just ridiculous.
We obsess over true crime and
or toilet paper.
Oh man, don't get me started.
Well, it's funny because I'm reading a book called The Kings of Quarantine, and they go through it too. And so they were hoarding the toilet paper, and it's just so funny how when something like that happens, we're like, toilet paper.
Well, and I'm sure that's given you so much perspective, and we're going to interview my
First
cousin.
World problems.
Yeah, exactly. Who served 5 years in the Peace Corps. He was over in Zambia, just helping install irrigation systems. And when he came back, I mean, he was already the most unmaterialistic person you could think of. People here see him as, oh, he's a freaking hippie. He's had the same shoes for 5 years, but he's like, yeah, they have holes in them, but I'm good. Like, I don't need a new pair of shoes. I don't need anything. I'm set. And, he brought like a little compact mirror over there, and it broke on the way there. And there was a woman who picked it up because he was just going to throw it away. And she'd never even seen her own reflection.
Oh, wow.
So that teaches you perspective. Like,
honestly,
I mean, and they loved it so much. I mean, it's just a tiny little compact mirror, and they strung it up from a tree in like the little square because everybody loved it so much. So
that's cute.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I feel like this question gets tossed around too a lot, especially for those who are curious about joining and serving their country. But there's almost a stigma or a stereotype about basic training, right? And what that looks like. Almost sounds scary. Since you were commissioned, did you go to basic?
So yes and no.
Yeah.
So
because I know it's different.
It is kind of different, exactly. So, and it depends on how you commission, and it depends on your branch of service. So some services actually require you to go through the standard basic training before you go to their military academy equivalent.
Which is 3 months long in Texas, right?
It depends on your branch of service. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, isn't there one like in Carolina too? Somewhere, or am I like off my rocker?
I think
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know the Air Force is in Texas.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I was talking to someone, I could be wrong on like someone correct me, but like they were not in the Air Force, so they were going to somewhere, and it was like in like the Carolinas area.
In the Carolinas.
I don't know which one, and I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But like you said, like a different.
Yeah, email and tell Sarah she's wrong.
I can't speak to the other branches. I actually enjoyed my training. So I went through ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps. And so for me, it was about a month long. So we did 2 months in garrison at Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama. And that's where you're drilled and you march your flight around, and they brief you all these different things. But the biggest difference between standard basic training and field training is in basic training, they basically more or less treat you like you don't really necessarily know what you're doing, and they teach you things. Okay. Whereas in field training, they actually give you this, pretty thick manual. It's about an inch thick, and you're expected to know it. And you get regular tests throughout the training.
Oh, wow.
And they are constantly quizzing you and grading you, and you can actually fail out of it. They expect you to already know how to lead. And if you don't, then they give you the boot. And then, so that's the first 2 weeks. And then the second 2 weeks is in Camp Shelby, Mississippi. And that's your field training where you're actually out pitching tents, taking over a simulated village in the, Middle Eastern area. Right. So I really enjoyed it. I actually gained weight there because I ate better at training than I did when I was in college.
I've heard that from several people that the food's really good there.
Yeah, food was great. Well, at least for the Air Force. I can't speak to the other branches. Yeah. I enjoyed my chicken Le Cordon Bleu. It was pretty delicious.
Gosh, that's delicious. Wow.
It's kind of like with the Mormon missionaries. Like, a lot of them will gain a lot of weight. Because they just like with their like host families, like come like feed you. Like my one cousin shot up like he's 6 foot now, and we're like he didn't gain a lot because he was in Mexico.
Oh wow!
But, like all my other cousins that would go like in state, they're like we ate so much food. I'm like well, they like to feed you.
Don't complain,
right?
If you weren't in the Air Force, what do you think you would be doing instead? Being a dentist?
Probably being a dentist.
Yeah.
If I didn't join ROTC, I think I would have extended another year in college, maybe pursued a second bachelor's, reapplied to dental school until I got in. I knew someone who reapplied 6 times before he got in. 6 times? Yep.
Wow.
I would have like the first time I'm done.
Yep. But he did it. But he did it, so.
That's awesome. That's commitment to being a dentist.
Can you tell us a little bit about the physical aspect of joining the military? Like what is required of one? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. So it differs depending on the branch of service. So each military service has their own unique physical fitness test. So in the Air Force, I'm not going to lie, I think it's pretty weak compared to the other branches. I self-admit
like
that.
The Marines,
100%, or even the Army. So for the Air Force, we just have to be able to run 1.5 miles and so fast the time. We have to be able to perform so many push-ups in a minute, so many sit-ups in a minute, and then our waist measurement has to be so big. It can't be greater than 40 some odd plus inches.
Yeah, I'd fill out of that shit so fast.
Yeah. But the other branches, like, holy cow. So I'm pretty sure the Marines have a 3-mile run. They have to do pull-ups. They have to do push-ups. They have to do sit-ups. The Army has this functional fitness test, and it's changed over the last couple of years. And I couldn't even tell you what all they do now, but they do stuff like over-the-shoulder throws. They do like bag carries or like body carries almost.
Basically, they're badass. Not that you guys aren't badass either. You guys fight planes, right? But like them Army dudes, like the shit they have to go through.
The Marine,
Yeah, the Marines have it pretty tough.
Yeah,
sure. Well, but again, that's just for your standard Air Force person, right? But then you have like your combat rescue officers or your JTACs, your Joint Terminal Attack Controllers in the Air Force.
Yeah,
they have their own unique physical fitness training requirements. Those are the guys that have to carry a log and march for however long.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that have to be able to essentially hold their breath underwater for, so many minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full Metal Jacket for some reason. I don't know why. But
people who serve the country are not a faint of heart.
No,
let's just say that.
Strong.
Even like just like being like the lower part of like the Air Force, like you still have to be in that mindset. To
you still have to pass that physical.
Exactly. Like it's still hard. Like no matter where you are or what you do.
So we've talked about this a little bit, and I told you I was going to throw it on the podcast because it cracked me up so much. But I know there are other training requirements, specifically in what you get into.
Sure.
Or like, you know what I mean. But you've told me the story about how you were tased in front of a room of like what? How many people?
It was a few hundred officers. Absolutely. Yep. So this was at Dyess Air Force Base. I'll tell you guys the story.
Yes, please.
So I was probably the youngest lieutenant there. I was brand spanking new, probably there only for a couple of months. Didn't know what I was doing or getting myself into, but the officer corps, we try to do professional officer development type stuff, right? Mm-hmm. We talk about leadership. We talk about how to handle different stressors in your life, how to take care of our airmen, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. Something that my wing commander at Dyess Air Force Base was trying to do was increase everyone's awareness and knowledge about all the other different squadrons or units on base. Mm-hmm. So he had all the officers get together once a month, and Security Forces was giving the presentation, which is essentially our COP equivalent, right? And they had asked for volunteers, and we waited like a solid 20 seconds or so, and no one had volunteered. It was super awkward. And so me, being young, dumb, and not knowing what I was doing, totally just raised my hand and said, "Sign me up. I'm here."
I'll do it.
And they said, "Okay, you probably want to go relieve yourself real quick, and then we need to sign. We need to have you sign this waiver." And I said, "Waiver?" Yeah. I was like, "What for?" And I was like, "You just signed up to be tased." I was like, "What?" And at that point, you can't back down because you're standing in front of hundreds of your peers, to include the wing commander, like your boss's 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 boss.
They're like, "Yeah, good job, kid." Like,
exactly. So I legit,
no.
Yeah, it was awful. So they tased me.
Sitting there like, yes, we can't wait to see this. This guy's got cojones. Holy cow.
It was, I cried. I didn't cry, but I totally yelled and screamed. It was painful.
How could you not? I think everyone
And
does.
he showed me the video because your whole body locks up, and there were literally two other airmen on the side of him holding his whole body weight up because he couldn't himself.
Yeah. So it wasn't like a local taser like you would see like a standard cop use where they come and poke you with it. So they had prongs. So this is the type of taser that you could shoot out. Yeah. But they didn't shoot it out at me because that would really hurt because it digs into your skin. So what they did was they placed the nodes on they placed one on my shoulder and one on my ankle. And so the current went through my entire body.
Oh my
and so every muscle in my body constricted and I went stiff as a board. And that's why they had those people there because if they didn't, I would have fallen backwards.
Who knows
forwards.
what you would have been like down on the floor.
But it was extremely painful.
So I know you also had to go through the experience of being tear gassed.
Yes.
And you've been pepper sprayed, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So out of those three things, does everyone who enlists or is in active duty, like, do they all have to go through that training? Or is it specific to your position?
So it kind of depends, right? Okay. As far as the pepper spray goes, no, that was just something I did outside of the military, actually.
You're like, hey, pepper spray me.
I'm just curious, you're dumb. You want to try new things in life?
You're like, pepper spray me. I want to see how it feels.
The taser thing, I unconsciously, or not unconsciously, but unknowingly signed myself up for.
Like, we need a volunteer. Like,
yep.
So out of those three things, what would you say is the worst?
I probably would say pepper spray. So the tear gas thing was bad, don't get me wrong, but as soon as you get out in fresh air and it clears up, it goes away pretty quick.
As long as you're not touching your face.
Yeah, as long as you're not touching your face and stuff like that, because then it would, definitely hurt a lot more. The taser thing only lasted 5 seconds. Granted, in terms of pain, that was probably more painful, but because it was so small a time, so limited, it wasn't that bad. The pepper spray stays for a while, and it takes a lot to get it out.
Oh, my God.
And it hurts, and you can't breathe, and you're coughing, and you just hate your life.
And you voluntarily did that in your free time.
I did. It was fun. I would never do it again, though.
It was fun.
Because it was a group of us. It was a group of us.
Did you do it to yourself, or who sprayed it on you?
No, we were taking turns. We all wanted to see.
Oh, my goodness.
It's one of those dumb things you do in college just for funsies.
We've
all had one of those.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, it's better like when you're in college because one of my stepsister's boyfriends, he made his friend pepper spray him in his hallway in high school. In between classes, he's like, I want to see what it feels like. Pepper spray me.
Bear spray accidentally went off in my aunt's pop-up trailer, and that was horrible because it affected everybody. Yeah, not good. But could you share a couple of your most memorable or favorite or not favorite, whatever you feel like, stories or experiences throughout your career?
Dang, that's a tough one. As far as favorites go, I really enjoy going TDY, which is like a temporary duty or temporary deployment, like the time I went to Israel for a short stint. You learn a lot about the cultures, in those areas that you go, and then you get to have fun with your team. When you're at home in garrison, you do a lot of training, and you're training to go to war. You're training to protect the country, this, that, and the other. But when you go TDY, it becomes more real. Or when you deploy, it becomes significantly more real. So that's always fun. Another one of my favorite memories was a time when this tech sergeant, so he's an E6, he's getting ready to retire, and he said, "Hey, Captain, when you have a moment, I'd like to talk to you for a minute." And I said, "Okay, sure, no problem. What's up?" And he said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate everything you've done for me in my flight, and I hope you never change."
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm totally not tearing up right now. I just got something.
I mean, I'm gonna cry for you. It's fine.
I strive to make a difference in the teams and the units that I'm assigned because I want to be there to make their lives easier. I look at it as I work for them, not the other way around, right? Yeah. So that was really kind of nice because it was completely unsolicited feedback, and he gave that to me clearly out of the blue. But as far as bad times go, it's. I was assigned to certain units that I wasn't a huge fan of. The military is much like any other, job out there. Sometimes you have that person that you get along great with, and sometimes you get that person that you just can't stand.
That one person.
No matter where you are.
I got locked up into the position of attention one time, and I was being yelled at by a superior for something that wasn't even my fault. And there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can say because you don't want to be disobedient,
right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Or unprofessional. So you just kind of sit there and you just take it. And that's always hard. And that's happened to me 3 times in my career.
Oh.
Two of which were by the same person. And that person ended up getting kicked out of the Air Force.
Sweet baby.
You'll have to forgive my son in the background.
No, he's so cute.
Yeah.
We're so glad he's here.
So cute.
So glad
he
he's
looks
here.
at you and he just smiles. You're like, you're just so cute.
I know.
What was going on?
I don't know.
That was a pause.
No, I have considered joining the military a couple of times, and multiple people have told me you would not do well because you can't keep your mouth shut. And as I get older, I'm like, I probably should agree with that. No, but it's definitely interesting. It's taken you on quite the journey.
Oh, absolutely. Like I mentioned Afghanistan. Like I'll be honest, that was a interesting time for me. Yeah. I think that the different military departments will dog each other, but I think in the grand scheme of things, we all respect each other for what we do.
Absolutely.
So when I was in Afghanistan, I went to the hospital to go get checked up for something, and there was an Army kid that him and his team were caught up in a firefight, and he had got shot, and his whole team was out there. So it's very real. There was a time when I was out there and we took a mortar attack, and the mortar was legit. Maybe 10, 15 yards from my position. Fortunately, it was a dud, and it hit the ground. It deflected and went to something called the T-wall. It's just a huge concrete barrier. It's like 2 or so feet thick, and it's like 15 or so feet high. But it didn't go off, and it's
Thank
just
God.
that pucker factor, like, oh my goodness, like what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, those are tough times, but you learn a lot.
Yeah.
You learn to respect life, and you learn to respect the other branches, and just how nice we have it here in the States.
You take nothing for granted. No, absolutely not. So on that note, I know when you first enlist, you can make a list of places you would like to prefer to deploy to.
Yeah.
What was on your list for starting out?
So I wouldn't say the word deploy. I would say PCS.
Yeah. PCS.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. No, you're fine. So ironically, I am an aircraft maintenance and munitions officer. So I supervise people that fix planes and build bombs and missiles and stuff. Yeah, it sounds really cool, right?
It is a really cool job.
That was not on my list of jobs that I wanted at all. I had intel on my list. I had space and missiles on my list. I had security forces on my list.
Yeah. Everything but that.
Yep. And then after you're assigned a career, a job, AFSC, Air Force Specialty Code, as they call it in the Air Force, then you do, just like you said, you get to put together a list of places you want to go. My very first base, also not on my list.
Yeah.
My second base was, and then Hill was actually on the top of my list when
Really?
it came time for me to PCS again.
Why, of all places, was Utah at the top of your list?
Sure. So I told the Air Force, because you actually get to write, a little narrative about why you want to go where it is you want to go, or why the Air Force is better off sending you there. I told the Air Force that you stuck me in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and then you stuck me in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. I said, I enjoy the Air Force, but I want to have a family. Yeah. I told them that I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
There's no ladies out here.
There are no ladies out there, right? And anyway, so
There's like no people.
Exactly. I said, these are the places I want to go based off of the capita of how many members of my faith were out there.
Yeah.
Right.
I said it would increase my chances of finding someone. And I legit, kid you not, they sent me an email a few weeks later saying, hey, just so you know, you got your first pick. You're going to Hill Air Force Base. We really hope you find someone special.
Yes.
Joke's on them. I found her in Alaska.
Oh, my gosh. That was one of my next questions. So you guys actually met in Alaska.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes. So my wife is from Reno. Nevada, and she went up to Alaska to work for us for the summer. It's a very touristy place. A lot of people go up there to try and make some extra cash because they can make $15, $20 an hour.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
That's way cool. I didn't know that.
We met up there at a church event, actually.
That's great.
Yep, and then she ended up coming back to Utah for school, and we stayed in touch. And at the time, I put in my wish list of places I wanted to go. She and I wasn't engaged, so I wasn't being dishonest with the Air Force by any means.
Right.
You know, maybe it would have worked, maybe not. Who knows? But I did eventually propose to my wife, and now here we are.
In Utah.
You guys, like, you know, took that final step in Utah. You just happened to, like, bump into each other in Alaska.
I think that makes it even better.
Brought it.
That's
love
awesome.
that. And they're like, find someone
it
special.
was meant to be.
Uh-huh.
And wasn't it you who said that you don't believe in destiny?
So I don't believe
this was not
in
destiny. I don't know what is.
Fate.
Yeah, no. What do you call it? You believe in karma. I don't believe in karma.
Yes, I do.
Like, you don't believe in
karma.
you don't believe in consequences.
Yeah, and
I don't
believe in destiny. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Coincidences, not consequences. Anyways, but yes, I was just making sure because that sounds like fate to me.
It's like from Reno to Alaska to Utah,
and from all the places you've been to Alaska.
And right? Like, come on, you guys.
Yeah.
It's the cutest love story I've ever heard.
Oh.
I'm extra hormonal. I'm sorry.
Sarah, yeah. At least it wasn't anything from, like, one of your erotica novels. So that's good. It usually is. Let me read you an excerpt out of my erotica novel.
No, you wanted me to, and that was not the right book for that. Okay, no.
I don't think any of those books are. Anyways. So you definitely feel like your faith brought you to Utah.
Oh, that was definitely the reason why I told the Air Force I wanted to come here, was to find a member of my church to marry.
Yeah. How old were you when you found your faith and converted?
So that's a good question. So my mom was born and raised Catholic. My dad was born and raised a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but shortly after my parents got married, my dad enlisted in the Army. And so collectively, he was probably deployed out of country for like 10 to 12 years. It was a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
My mom was never converted to the church. When I grew up, I didn't go to church. My family didn't read the Book of Mormon, let alone the Bible.
Yeah. So what drew you in about the LDS church, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, no, I don't mind at all. So, and I kind of always believed growing up that there was this higher power, right? I didn't know what to call it. Yeah. But, in college, I had the ability or the agency to express myself a little bit more because I was out on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a ton of friends that believed in a lot of different things. I went to a non-denomination Christian church, a couple of different Christian churches, a Baptist church, a Catholic church. I had a couple of friends that were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I attended, that church, or my church now, for a little bit. And I think what really attracted me to the church was the focus on families. So like in my church, we believe that you're just not together, that you're not together just until, quote, death do you part. We believe that you are together for all time and eternities, and that you can, have spirit children. Yeah. And I just love that, I believe that, when we die, I don't think that you just become a ministering angel and that's just the end of things. I think that Heavenly Father wants us to be like him. He wants us to have, what he has, if not more. Like, I want my son to have everything I have, if not more. I want him to have this great life. And that's kind of why I think I was attracted to the church, is I saw more of that in my church than I did in some of the other ones.
Yeah, for sure.
That, and then, all the, beautiful ladies, of course, aka my wife.
Well, I appreciate you sharing a little bit of your perspective, because we've talked about this faith specifically in the past, just because we're from Utah. Utah is known for the Mormon state, the LDS church. Yes. So I think it's important to show a little bit of enlightenment from someone that is a part of the church. Sure. Share a little perspective, if you will. In a lot of cases, your spouse is able to relocate with you, but in some situations, like the one you're about to enter, you go on short tours. Yep. So they're not always able to come with you.
Correct.
I know you talked about it briefly, but what do you think your wife would say? Like, is she excited or ready for the move, or is she a little nervous?
Sure.
Most tend to be. Yeah, I can't talk anymore.
I think you tend to go through a lot of different emotions up to the move. I think, if you're in a happy marriage, I don't think anyone enjoys being physically separated, right? Mm-hmm. So it is definitely hard in that sense. But I think that there are some positives to it, because at some point in time in my career, I will have to do a short tour. I'll have to be unaccompanied, and it's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
I'd rather get it done now when my son is still young, too young to remember, than later on in my career when, now I'm going to miss this huge event for him, whether it be, a pretty big birthday or a gaming event, who knows?
Well, and I can only imagine how difficult it is for the person deploying as well. You have to miss out on those things. Yeah. So
you're still leaving. Like, you're not, like, in a sense, like, leaving your family, but, like, like, you can't take your family with you.
Yeah.
In a way. So you're, like, there on your own, and you're just kind of like...
But it's a lot easier nowadays than it was 20, 30 years ago. Like, back in the day, before the advent of cell phones or
waiting
social
for
media.
Pigeon letters.
Yeah. I mean,
snail mail.
I can FaceTime my wife, every night if I wanted to.
Yeah, that's awesome.
When I leave,
And it's so awesome that we have the technology and capability to do that now, because it makes you still feel connected in some way.
For sure.
The time pass a little
for a short
quicker.
time amount of, like, just, and it's like only for like a short amount of time too, which is nice.
Yeah. And it takes so much strength to go and to stay hard. And, man your house, raise your children.
Those coming home videos get me in the feels so hard. I literally bawl my eyes out when I see those videos. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. It takes a lot of strength to be a military spouse, so I commend everyone who is. I have mad respect for you.
Become like single parents.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether like wives or husbands, like if your wife's in the military, like not all.
Especially if you're not able to relocate and have the support of your family. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what do you think your wife would say to our listeners who might be military spouses themselves, or even single parents who might be able to relate? What if they're struggling in any case? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That separation.
I think she would say, hang in there.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that you can do. For those military spouses that have family members away, keep in mind that it's just a short period of time. You guys will be reunited again.
Absolutely. I love that. End quote of wife. That was great. Were you ever in a position where you considered, getting out of the military?
I don't think I was ever in a position when I wasn't considering getting out of the military, right? Like, keep in mind, my initial plan was to get out after 4 years, because that was my initial commitment. Mm-hmm. I've always told myself that I would stay in for as long as I enjoyed what I did. Mm-hmm. And, there are days when I absolutely love what I do. You can't really do it anywhere else. And there are days when I don't really love it.
No.
I think right now the position I'm in is I have a family that I need to provide for, a son that was just born. And I think I have a decent quality of life right now, and I want to be able to continue providing that for my family.
Yeah.
However, I am definitely keeping my options open, and I have a couple of side hustles that I'm always working. Yeah. So in the event that I ever need to get out and do something different, I can. I have that flexibility.
It seems like you know how to hustle. That's for sure.
Yeah, something like that.
If you were, when you get out of the military and retire, what would you like to do?
No idea. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. I don't think dentistry is in my books anymore. I'd have to go back to school for like a solid 6 years. At that point, it's like, why bother? But, like I said, I do have a couple of side hustles that I'm working. Maybe if those are going really well, maybe I get out and I pursue those if I'm, providing a better quality of life doing those things than the military can offer.
Absolutely.
Or maybe I stay in and then I, work that full time when I get out. Who knows?
Where would you like to eventually settle down?
Oh, man. Probably Texas.
Texas.
I mean, I wouldn't mind going to Texas.
I have not been to any nice parts of Texas.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
No.
Well, I mean, you gotta, it's a big state.
El Paso. Yeah.
El Paso del Rio, not my favorite.
Yeah, not my favorite.
Well, let's make a trip. Let's go to a nice part of Texas. Where should we go?
It depends.
Somewhere by the ocean.
Sure, by the ocean. Yeah, you should go to South Padre.
All right,
Let's go.
I is that nice or I have no idea.
It depends.
That's what I'm saying. Let's go somewhere nice.
It's a fun place to go on spring break.
Oh, well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, what would Sarah do now?
Well, I'm not saying now. We can go after she's born.
Oh, man. Well, I've been lucky enough to work pretty close with you over the past 6 months. I've learned a lot from you. But what I've also learned, as I said in the beginning, is that you have a thirst for somewhat being a jokester.
Absolutely. I thrive on it.
I thrive on it. There's like a level of camaraderie. I cannot talk anymore, and I'm not even drinking. There's a level of camaraderie when you're in the military, too. And so I feel like it's easy to, point fun at each other, and, it really is. Someone even emailed into the show. Sorry, I'm going to tangent really quick. But they emailed into the last episode, I think the 16th one, and they were like, "Is Sarah okay? She seems angry." And I was like, I think she's always angry. But I was like, you have to understand, our sarcasm is
so dry. So dry. Oh, my God. It's horrible. I'm like, you look great today. I'm like, oh, my God, what are you wearing? And they're like,
totally believe you right now.
yeah, right. They're like, I don't, do I look, I'm like, no, you look really great. And they're like, do I? I'm like, yeah, no, really, you look awesome. Oh my God.
Sometimes I can't even tell. I'm like, you jerk.
I know. I'm like, I feel so bad because I'm just so dry.
It's become a running joke, kind of, though. Like, I get 2 people that call to check up on me consistently every day. It's my father and Scam Likely. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Because the scam calls are just ridiculous. Like, you can even pay, like, on your monthly plan.
They don't do anything.
They don't?
No.
You can pay money. You're supposed to be able to pay money, and you won't receive those scam calls anymore.
Because they buy other people's numbers. Yeah. Like, Corey, she'd, like, would call them back, and they'd be like, "Oh, hi," and she's like, "Yeah, this is like you have like your numbers on scam," and they're like, "Thanks."
Gosh,
yeah, that's getting really bad nowadays.
And there have been a few times where I've almost like bought into them, like at a younger age, but
don't do it.
I think the first one that got me was the Social Security one, and you actually had that works. They are scary. It was like wah wah wah.
Yeah,
but you just had one recently where someone called you about your Social Security being stolen.
Oh yeah,
or something
at work
like
here
that.
recently.
At work,
that was a fun one,
and it went on for what would you say? 20 minutes? 15 minutes?
I don't know, maybe 10 minutes.
It felt like forever.
Yeah, it did feel for a while.
They usually don't last that long anyways.
He has this thick Indian accent, and he had quite the story.
He did.
He really did.
Oh, my God.
It was kind of mind-blowing. Like, is this real? Like, did they really think that someone would believe this?
Yeah, so I think what he said was, and, I've slept since then, so you have to forgive me if my memory's a little vague, but I'm pretty sure he asked me if I had recently rented a car in Texas.
Yeah.
And if I had taken out like 15 or some odd credit cards. And he also mentioned that, the cops performed an investigation of the car.
Monitoring
and they found
your Social Security or whatever.
Yeah, and they said they found evidence of, I think, marijuana or heroin or some sort of drug.
Cocaine. He was like,
oh my God.
There's this car that was left in the middle of Texas, and it had a bunch of cocaine in the trunk, and there were blood spatters.
Oh,
in
blood
the back.
I forgot about that. Yeah. And he's like, "Does this sound familiar to you?" And I was like, because I told him, because he asked me what I do for a living.
Again, prank call, like not scam caller.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I told him I was in private equity. I don't think he had any idea what that meant. I was like, I'm in private equity. He's like, you're in what? Private equity. I manage a lot of money for a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay. And then he gives me this whole spiel about this rental car in the middle of nowhere, Texas. He was like, does this sound familiar to you? I was like, you know what? I'm not going to lie. I was like, look, I am in private equity. I do handle, a lot of money for a lot of people. So I work with a lot of different banks. So I would not be surprised if there are a couple of credit cards in my names. And like I do invest in the drug. I don't actually invest in the drug,
But he's
industry,
saying this
so you guys
to the
know.
guy, yeah.
It's not allowed in the Air Force, just FYI. But I'm telling him, like, I thought that was legal. Like, I thought that was approved, like a few months ago. Like, what do you mean? That's like,
Some guy said it was fine.
Yeah, this guy is
fine.
still on the line until he goes, as far as the blood, I can't really speak on that.
Exactly.
And then the line goes dead. And I was like, oh my God, like, that really just happened. Like, other people even started to come over because he's got this on speaker on his desk. And we're just like,
it was awesome.
How does this happen to you? But
that's amazing.
Elaborate a little more because I know you have some good stories.
Sure. I couldn't tell you how many scam calls I get. Like, I mean, I remember a time when I was probably getting 10 plus a day, and it got pretty bad. And at first, I just started ignoring them. But then I'm like, no, they're going to waste my time. I'm going to waste their time back when I have time to do that, of course.
Yeah.
And there was one time I got a call during a meeting while I was in a meeting. And I didn't answer it at the time because I was busy doing other stuff. But as soon as I got out, I went to my office and I checked my phone. And they left a voicemail. Usually the voicemails are only like 2 to 3 seconds long and there's nothing. It's just white noise.
Yeah.
So I just delete them. But this one was like a solid 15, 20 seconds. So I was like, okay, I got to listen to this.
Someone's saying something.
Yeah, someone's saying something. So I can't remember. I think it was an Apple, one of those Apple scam calls. Like there was this charge on your Apple account for $999, so on and so forth. If you do not recognize this charge, please call this number. And they gave me a callback number. Usually when you try and call the number that they contact you from, you can't get through. You know, it says this is not a valid number, so on and so forth, because you're using a fake number. This one went through.
Oh, I love it.
And
anxiety is about it.
I had so much fun because it went through again and again and again. So I call him, right? And again, it was another person with a very heavy Indian accent. And, you can tell he's at a call center because you can hear people in the background chatting.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I just got this phone call and I missed it, but I got a voicemail saying that there is this fraudulent, suspicious charge on my Apple account. And I don't recognize it. It's like $1,000. And then he's like, okay, hold on one moment, please. Right. And then you can hear him, clicking some buttons. And I'm pretty sure he's looking for the right script because I'm willing to bet they have multiple different scams that.
Oh, he's like, I got to find the right one.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
What am I saying for this?
Exactly.
I just imagine a massive like cubicle farm with just like people like hunched over and like that it's wild to me. But sorry, continue.
No, you're good. So what he wanted me to do basically is he wanted me to confirm the transaction. And he said, I can only do that if I, remote into your computer and just check your account.
Ew.
And of course, me, I'm like, whatever, dude. But I play with him. I was like, okay, let's do this. So I give him a whole bunch of fake contact information, right? Because you have to give him that first.
You always give a famous name, too.
A famous name?
No,
not always. Sometimes I give him random ones.
There was... Okay, continue.
No,
Sorry.
you're good.
I swear you use like a famous name for that one that we were just talking about.
I'm pretty sure I did use some sort of famous name. I think I used one of our coworkers' name. Yeah.
That's probably why it's ringing a bell.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Pretty famous guy.
Probably.
Yeah, but anyway, so he wants me to go to this website. And he's like, do you have your computer browser in front of you right now? I was like, yeah, I got it right in front of me. He's like, okay, I need you to type in this web address. Now, he had a really thick Indian accent. Like his English was very broken. I could not understand him. So I had him repeat it to me like a solid 7 times. Right?
One more time.
Yeah. The first 3 times I legitimately had no idea what he was saying. Because he would say, the letter P, but it would come out like letter P, I have no idea what you're saying right now. Like, are you
like go to the website.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. What?
So I had him, he had me put it in like a dozen times. He's like, what happened? I was like, nothing's happening. He's like, okay, close it down, go to this other one. So I asked him again. He gave me that web address, like 5 or 7 times or so. So I get through that, and it's like, okay, what pulled up? I was like, dude, this is crazy, man. This really weird porn site just pulled up. I'm like, I'm on a work computer right now. I'm not going to get in trouble for this, am I? He's like, no. Exit out of that one. So I exit out of that. I was like, okay, try this other website, which blows my mind because clearly they have multiple websites that they use.
Oh
and
my gosh.
I don't know why. So again, I go onto that website, and he was like, what's going on? I was like, dude, look, you're an idiot. I was like, look, I know you're a scammer. I know you're just trying to pull my leg. But man, I tell you what, you were very persistent. I appreciate all the time you spent trying to scam me. But dude, I just fooled you, brother.
I fooled you,
I got
brother.
time for this.
Yeah, and then he started like cussing me out, and he just kept calling me a mother, effer.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then just kept calling me that over and over and over again. I was like, do you not know any other curse words in English? Like, you want me to teach you some stuff?
Do you need help?
You some
Yeah,
stuff.
you need to call him a cottonhead and ninny muggins.
Oh my God.
That really offends
Oh
people.
my
I'm telling you right now. Anyway,
I love it.
so naturally he hangs up. So what do? I call back
Yes.
because this number works. And I speak to someone different. I go through a very similar process, except this time they want me to give them like my credit card information. And I think
Obviously not the same guy, right?
not the same guy, but it's definitely the same call center. And I'll get to that in a second. But he wants me to give him my credit card information to validate my account or this charge on my account. And what I've realized is, because at this point I've done this a couple of times, is the first like one or two numbers has to be a certain number if you're giving them a Visa card number or a MasterCard number. Otherwise, they know that you're not giving them a legit number and they just hang up on you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
We
so-
don't want that.
No, so I give them, the first two legit numbers, and then the rest are completely fake. Usually I do 8675309, and then I do that
Like
in reverse.
the math song.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. So they put that in, and they're like, "Oh, it's not working." I was like, "Read it back to me. Read it back to me." I was like, "Oh, no, you got this one wrong. You got to do it." And he's like, "Okay, are you sure?" I was like, yeah. And he's like, "Okay, I'll be right back. And then he leaves, and then like a couple minutes later, he comes back. It's still not working. I was like, "All right, let's try my MasterCard. Let's try my other card." So I give him that number, and we repeat this process. And then he finally catches on. And then he hangs up. Of course, he uses some colorful language beforehand, and he cusses me out and this, that, and the other. And I call him some select words in his language.
His like, you're like, thank you.
Yeah, because at this point in time, I've learned a thing or two. And, I hang up and I call again, and I call again, and I call again. And I do this for like a solid hour. And I eventually get back to the first guy I talked to. And he recognized my voice. And then he hung up on me immediately. He's like, "Stop calling here." I was like, then block my number. And they legit blocked my number.
You're like, don't call me.
Yeah, it was
That
awesome.
is awesome.
I loved it.
So, moral of the story is, if you get a legit number, keep calling them until they block you.
Oh, and then I
If you
posted
guys
on
do
Facebook.
this, if you guys do this too, please email into the show. I want to hear your crazy
That would be
stories.
awesome.
But you posted it on Facebook.
I absolutely did. And I said, I just got this scam call. And I called them back, a dozen or so times, and they finally blocked me. And I encouraged all of my friends who had enough of these scammers trying to rip them off to call. I don't know how many of my friends actually did, but it was just sweet vengeance. And I
This is a legit number. It's amazing. Try it out.
Do you ever not mess with the people that call you?
I do. So you may judge me, but anytime I hear like a woman on the other line, I tend to be a little bit nicer, and I say, "Hey, look, I would really appreciate it if you try to stop scamming me and put me on your do not call list."
Yeah, please do not
Yeah,
call
but they
me
just
anymore.
hang up.
Or they know you're about to say that, and they hang up
Sure.
before you can finish your request, because then they don't have to take you off the damn list.
But one time I was talking to this guy, and I asked him, "Okay, look, I'm legitimately curious. I mean, can you just not find a better job where you're at?" And no, because I'm like,
That is true, though. You're like,
he
I
must
just
be
do know.
resorting to this because he can't find work anywhere
Well,
else.
and I'm sure
Yeah.
in high populated areas such as India,
Sure, it's
that-
tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's tough. Yeah, and he said it is tough to find work. And then there was another person I talked to, that other guy,
the
and I had a
microphone
really
over.
nice heart to heart.
Yeah.
And I felt bad for the dude. I didn't give him any money. I'm not dumb.
I feel bad to
He's
a point.
like, let me tell you my whole sob
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to get in here.
But this other dude I talked to, I was like, "Dude, how much money do you actually make?" He's like, "I scam dozens of you guys every day, and I make thousands of dollars." I said, "Do you make thousands of dollars, or do the person that you work for
How much do
make tons of
you
money?"
bring home?
Yeah, it's
I'm
ridiculous.
sure they'd never tell you.
No, I doubt
mean, wow. I mean, could you imagine? And, oh, man. No. I would be terrible at that job. I have a guilty
I'm
conscience.
sorry.
I do.
So I've heard estimates that the fraud market is estimated in the hundreds of billions of dollars. It's ridiculous.
I am not surprised by that.
No.
Whatsoever. It's so sad.
With how many people get scammed, how many people go into those scams, too.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we're talking about big companies that are set up across the world, but like I've had clients, hair clients that have been scammed by people locally, by people that they even know eventually. Like it's really sad. And
like when you're trying to sell your car, stuff like that.
Yes, I can't tell you how many people, how many frauds I've had like get back to me. I mean, I've even been trying to sell this other audio interface, and like people are like, "Oh, like if you paid this, then like I'll pay for shipping, but like, just send it to this address and then I'll pick it up." And it's just like shady. You can feel that. Like, don't ignore your gut instinct or intuition. Like, if it feels wrong, it feels too good to be true. It is. I promise. It is. But I had an 80-year-old client of mine, she got a phone call from what she thought was her grandson from an unknown number. And he was like, Grandma, I'm in a lot of trouble. Like, I need help. Like, I really need your help. And he's like, please go to, what is it? The Western, those credit union. Western Union.
Where you can like send money.
Yeah, you can wire money to people. If I'm wrong, tell me.
Or like Walmart. You can do it at Walmart.
Yeah, but he's like, go to this place and like transfer me $3,000. Like, legit. I need $3,000. I'm posting bail for a friend, pretty much. And good grandma, she didn't really ask any questions. She drove to this Western Union and then just got this sinking feeling. And I'm so glad she didn't ignore it, because she's like, man, like if my grandson is in that much trouble, I should probably call his mom to make sure she's aware and, make sure he's okay. She calls her daughter, and her daughter's like, Mom, what are you talking about? He's sitting right next to me. He's fine. Mm-hmm. And so she left, and throughout the day, she just kept getting call after call after call from this number. But the issue was they weren't the same numbers. It was like 3 different people calling her, and they're like, Grandma, where are you? Grandma, we need the money. And finally, she filed a police report because she was just like, she answered a call, and she's like, look, I know you're not my grandson, and I don't appreciate you trying to scam me, this 80-year-old lady, out of this money. Like, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
But that's who they target, right? Honestly. Is they talk to people who aren't like fully there, like the older people or the really young people who don't really know what they're doing. And when they get that call from the Social Security Administration, they legit think they owe money to the Social Security.
I think it's so fucked up. Yeah. I mean, you target the weak and, it's the dog-eat dog world.
It's so sad.
I mean, I don't watch this, but I do listen to a local radio station, 97.1, and they were talking about a lady from the Real Housewives of Utah, or Salt Lake City. That's
Salt Lake.
Yeah. And there's this lady, her name's Jen Shaw, and she's facing like prison time now because it broke that she was scamming elderly people and had been for a decade or more. And it's just so mind-blowing to me. Like, you got onto a really popular reality show. You don't think that they're going to dig up like your history or look at your finances. Like, the whole point of that show is like following rich, stuck-up bitches and wherever you are. But yeah, she scammed like millions of dollars from people. Ridiculous. Yeah. And it was all targeted at the elderly. And it's just kind of funny because they were talking about how like this massive mansion she was living in Park City was like rented. And they found her house that's actually in her name, and it's very normal, 2-car garage, suburban house, and her driver and her nice car. It was actually her business partner scamming these people. So it's just crazy that she got on this show in the first place and really was cocky enough to believe that she wouldn't get caught. Truly.
Honestly.
Crazy. So I don't know. I don't think I have any respect for you people. Sorry.
What?
I'm just saying.
See, that's where my sarcasm comes in. It's fine.
So
no, I'm not mad.
What do you think the longest scammer or scam call you've had on the line has been?
Oh man, I couldn't tell you. Like, so the one experience that I just shared, where I called people back again and again and again, that lasted like a solid hour plus.
Well,
Yeah.
So it was in the same day?
It was in the same day,
no
and I
wonder
just
they
kept
were sick
calling
of
him
you.
again and again. Again, I was speaking to different people, but that went on for like a solid hour.
Oh my gosh.
Outside of that, like I was having this one conversation with the people who, are always calling you about your extended car warranty.
Oh my gosh.
I was on the phone with one of them for like a solid half an hour, and it's because I was trying to negotiate with them.
Are those real?
I don't know. I never really looked into it, but I think it's a scam. And the reason I think it's a scam is because after I gave him a whole bunch of fake information, I actually gave him one of my former boss's names and then his office number because I thought that would have been hilarious.
Oh, where's my applause? Yeah.
I liked him, and I hope he would have understood it in good humor if they ever called back. I don't know if they did or not, but I didn't tell him.
Please.
But I went through that entire process because I was legitimately curious. Like, what kind of deals could I get?
Yeah.
And they legit want to charge you like $450 a month for extended car warranty.
Or to renew it.
Or to renew it. And I'm like, why would I do that? He's like, what do you mean? I said, I could go buy a new car, and not pay nearly as much for that. Or I could go and lease one. I was like, look, man, if we're going to make this work, we're going to have to negotiate. And he was like, I can't negotiate
I like
with
how
you.
he turns to the side and gets
Yeah.
serious.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
I'm a businessman. I'm dealing with you. So I'm like, look, man, I can't do $450. Like, that's not my income.
Literally,
right now.
I could
can't
buy a
afford that.
cheaper car.
Yeah, I really could. I used that logic. And he's like, but I can't. I was like, well, who can? Do you have a boss or someone? So he gets his boss on the phone. And so he and I are talking and negotiating. He's like, look, I can give you $50 off a month. I was like, God, dude, that's too much. I really need it down to like $250 is like tops where I can go. And then we like started going through the actual plan and everything that it covered. I was like, well, what if we took this off? What would that cut it down to?
Right.
Oh my God.
And we just went through this and through this and through this. And then I was like, hey, you know what? On second thought, I'm not interested. You guys have convinced me to buy a new car. I appreciate your time. You guys have a good day. Click.
Thank you for
I
reminding
bet
me.
he was
He
pissed.
probably was.
Oh,
That
my
is
God. Did you ever get a
amazing.
call back?
I do, actually. They always ask for my boss.
Oh
so
my
they
gosh.
call me back. They don't call the number I gave them. They call my direct cell.
Oh my gosh.
And they always
that's
ask
funny.
my former boss. And I tell them I bought a new car every time.
like,
And they still call me.
So it has to be the same people.
It is definitely the same
Ew.
company that's totally trying to rip you off.
Yeah. So what would you say to the more gullible listeners, if you will? Like, how do you definitely, because some of them are so believable.
Sure.
Yeah. How do you know when to hang up? Like, or if it's real or not, if you will.
I think especially in the society we live in today, it's wise, it's prudent to be a skeptic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never take anything at face value. Always ask for them to send you an email. And then I would go and follow up on it, do some research, ask some of your friends, and be like, hey, does this sound legit? Before you give anyone anything. And I would never give out your personal information. I would never give out your name, your social security number, so on
Never.
and so forth.
No.
I would never do that. Always ask them to send you an email. And the reason I say an email versus a letter in the mail is you don't want them to have your personal address either.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If you legit have or do business with them, they should have all that stuff on file anyway. And then you can just be like, send it to my email that you guys have on record, please. And then follow up, find that actual business on Google or whatever. Find their no joke call customer support number and be like, hey, I just got this weird phone call. Like, what's going on? That's what I would do. I would
Yes.
always be a skeptic. Never give anyone anything. Always validate, verify to make sure that you're not getting scammed.
And if it is your grandson, call the grandson's family first.
Yeah, definitely.
Or just let him rot in jail. I don't know. I'd be like, well, you got yourself in there. I'll see you tomorrow.
Right?
Good luck.
Well, before we wrap up, I wanted to circle back a little bit and ask you a couple more questions.
Sure.
To anyone interested or curious about joining any branch of the military, what would you say to them?
I would say that, looking back on my military experience, overall I've enjoyed it. I've learned a lot of things and I've experienced a lot of things that you're not going to experience anywhere else. I have a huge appreciation for life and I have a huge appreciation for just all the things that we get to enjoy here in America. I do think that there are a lot of things that we can do better, but I think a lot of people take that for granted.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
You know,
Toilet paper?
Toilet paper, exactly, right?
I'm on that tangent.
I definitely think it's a fun experience, if you're interested in doing it. And I wouldn't be scared of basic trading or anything like that. I think that it's a good character builder.
Absolutely.
I think it will teach you how to manage stress. Some of the biggest pieces of advice that I would give is, one, before you join the military, any branch of the military, I would talk to, 3 people. One person who's in that branch of service you want to join, who loves what they do. One person who's in that branch of service who's kind of, here and there, kind of like me. Mm-hmm. And then some person who hates what they do.
Yeah.
Right? So you can get that full, unfiltered feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the first thing I'd recommend. And I do that for any branch. The second thing I would recommend is I would have a pretty good idea of what you do in the military before you get to the military. Mm-hmm. Like if you want to join the infantry, if you want to do Army Airborne or something like that, get after it. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for those people. I personally don't think I have the capacities for that. Yeah. But if you'd be surprised how many career options or opportunities are out there. You can be a dentist in the Air Force or a dental tech, or you can be like a missile operator. You can drive tanks. You can do this, that, and the other. Like there's all these crazy
communications.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. I would have a pretty good idea of what you want to do, and then don't let Uncle Sam direct your career for you. Tell Uncle Sam, kind of like I did, I want to go to Hill Air Force Base because I want to get married. If you don't send me someplace where I can get married, I will like to get out.
Send me somewhere populated, please.
Right? So
I need people.
Exactly. So those are the 2 biggest things that I would recommend.
That's awesome. What questions would you suggest to someone going in to talk to a recruiter who may not know what to ask?
Sure. So
let me add this too really quick. I feel like it's not that recruiters hold anything back from you, but it's you'll say it for me then. Yeah. Okay. But there's a little misdirection,
they make
it
sound too good.
So like recruiters, it's not like they get a bonus or anything like that for everyone that they recruit, right? That's not a thing. But they do have certain quotas that they try to meet. Some branches have higher quotas than others. You take the Army or you take the Marines. Their retention rate is not very great. The Marines, they want, I don't want to say young and dumb people. I'm not saying Marines are dumb, but they want people who, just want to get in, do a couple of years because they want those young, strong, physically fit members. And then they want them to get out and move on. Right? Because that's just what the Marines do.
Sure. Yeah.
So their retention is always tough there. So they're always trying to recruit. Same thing with the Army, so on and so forth. I don't think the Air Force has nearly as tough as a retention issue. But anyway, so I bring that up because, I definitely think that there are some things certain recruiters will leave out. They're not going to give you the unfiltered, transparent, this is what's great about the military, this is what's bad. They're going to tell you the things that they want you to hear in order to help their numbers. Yeah. If you want to commission into the military, I would advise against talking to an enlisted recruiter because they don't want you to go commission, right?
Yeah,
they
want
you to
great
enlist.
Advice. Yeah.
I would talk to a commissioned officer recruiter and talk to them about the different options available. You could even go online and Google it. You can look at ROTC.com or the Air Force Academy or, West Point or wherever it is you want to go.
And those are all very prestigious schools.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, they're amazing universities. The quality of the education is fantastic. It's all paid for, room and board, tuition, so on and so forth. It's awesome. It's extremely tough to get into, though.
Yes, very competitive.
Absolutely. And
my Uncle Mark got into the Air Force Academy. I mean, that was in the 60s, but,
And then something else I would do is, outside of talking to a recruiter, I would see if you can get in contact with someone in the career field that you're interested in. So, I have a cousin who was interested in being a pilot in the Air Force. And, me being an aircraft maintenance and munitions guy, I am friends with tons of them. Right?
Look at them all.
Yeah, so I put him in contact with, a buddy of mine who's an F-35 pilot, a B-1 pilot, a C-130 pilot, a C-5 pilot, a KC-135 pilot. All these different pilots, so you can get a pretty good idea of what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And he can talk about all the pros and cons of each. I would definitely advise that you go and you do that, right? Because the recruiter's only going to know his career field. Right. And if you're not interested in what his career field is, then I would talk to someone who's doing it, whatever it is you want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's great advice.
And never sign the paperwork same day.
No. Don't. Go home and sit on it at least for an evening
An evening.
I would
Just
say,
yeah,
I'd say
at
on it
least
for a solid week.
Yeah, definitely.
A week.
Yeah,
Give yourself
a solid
7
week.
days. Not an evening anymore. It's 7 days.
The Ring. Oh my gosh. Well, we commend you for your service, and I have mad respect for you.
Definitely.
And
mad respect for your wife.
Oh,
yes,
thanks.
absolutely.
Same, likewise.
Your son is so beautiful, and
He is so cute.
we wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors.
Good luck.
I'm excited for where your new opportunities take you.
Yep.
That'll be
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yep. I'm excited.
Oh. But anyways, all that being said, thank you so much for taking the time to drive to good old Ogden and sit here with us.
Agaden.
And chat a little bit. If you enjoyed this episode, we appreciate you for listening and tuning in and showing
Making
us
it this far.
so much support.
You guys are freaking killer.
Yeah, definitely give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram at Hard Talks with B&H. And you can also email into the show to share scam call experiences, share any questions you might have about the military. We love to hear from you. You can also, that's at Hard Talks with BNH at gmail.com. Sorry, I almost forgot that. Follow us on Twitter at Hard Talks with B1. And if you have made it this far, go give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
Subscribe.
Yeah, it helps us to continue to create the content that we do. And we love you. And you'll get a shout out. Ring, ring.
Shout out to you.
Yes. All that being said, we hope you have an epic rest of your week. We love you.
Love you.
We love you.
Love you.
In the future, next episode, we'll have an announcement. If you love the show and want to help us out to continue creating more content such as this, we're going to jump on Patreon and whatnot. So, hey-o.
Hey.
Have a good one, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Glad you'd buy. Hard talk,
Yeah.